Hey folks, and welcome back to Shaggy's Car Shop. On tonight's episode, we're not going to be working on the car per se. We're going to be starting to disassemble some of these engine pieces that I got in this parts haul the other week. We're going to start on the cylinder heads and get the valves out and get them broken down so I can get those cleaned up. So let's bring you along for the journey. Be right back with you. Alright folks, so I already have one removed. I just kind of wanted to test out this tool. So what we have here is a valve spring compressor. I got this from, I think, AutoZone. So this does work. If you got one of the fancy compressors, that'll work too. But again, I think this was like 20 bucks. The big ones are, 70, 80 bucks. The nice ones. This does work. We're trying to do this on a budget. So I figured I'd show you guys how I'm going to remove my my springs and my valves. This one does not have much play at all on it, but it kind of wants to stick in the valve guide with the top of the valve. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of reading on that one, and I'll bring you back on what we're going to do with that. But like I said, if you have it in the valve guide, there's very little play on it. So at least I know that valve guide is good until I rip the valve out through it. That's one thing you don't want to do. If you do have any burrs or anything like that, I think that's what it is. I got some burrs up here. You don't want to just yank that through your valve guide because you'll tear it right out. But with this tool, what you're going to do is get this down on your springs. Just like that. Spin this down. I don't know how well y'all can see this, but spin this down just like that till that touches the top of that retainer. Now you want to make sure it's on that retainer decent, not hanging off on one side more than the other one, and under some valve spring, which I am. Now where did it go? Then it comes. You can use a 3/8 ratchet on the top, or a socket, or it comes with a little T-handle. I am just going to use the T-handle to press this valve up. Oop, maybe not. Got to get it on that retainer just a little better. And then is what you're going to want to do, squish that spring. Again folks, anytime you're playing with springs that are under pressure or anything like that, see this valve is moving free now, but it didn't drop off the locks. So I don't want to damage anything, so I just set this on my rubber mallet. So hopefully I don't mess up this valve. Trying my best here not to mess up my guides and to free that lovely little set of keepers in there. Whew, that is a stubborn one. Alright, well, let me back off and try one of these exhaust valves. See how they want to come apart. Okay, that one's freed up. Alright, let me try on this one. Ooh, you are a stubborn bugger. Alright, let me set this on the floor and give it a tap with a hammer up here. I think my table's just moving too much. There we go. That's the trick. So all I'm doing, putting the rubber mallet right here on the bottom of the valve so I don't mess up the valve. And then I just slightly tap that with a hammer. And you see how it's nice and free right in there? And you come in with your magnet. And hopefully you can get those keepers out of there. Man, these things are being stubborn. Alright, let me go grab a itty screwdriver. There we go. Alright, let me get that keeper out of there. Oh, I'm really finagling around with this thing. Alright. There's one keeper. And the other keeper. So now, what you're going to do, well, you can just take that off. We'll come back to that valve and make sure it's pointed away from you and at nothing important, and just slowly back it off. Just in case that spring decides to go flying. Now, one thing, I know I said this is going to be a budget build. I already checked prices on valve springs and valve keepers and retainers. They aren't that bad for a whole set of 2, 4, 6, 8. So I am buying new ones of these just because, for peace of mind. I am going to keep these, but if you were just disassembling this head just to get them, get it all cleaned up and whatnot, and you want to keep them in the correct order, same thing with your valves, just so everything goes back to where it was, because that's how things wear in. Again, I don't know how many miles or anything are on this, so I'm just going to be on the safe side and replace them. So that's why I'm just kind of piling parts over here. I will keep them because they seem like they're all right, but there again, I don't want to take any chances. So let me get the rest of these apart, and then we'll be right back with you. All right, folks. So this is my second head. Now, I had one of these valves that just slid right out, which was nice. On this first head down here, one of the four slid out like these, and the other ones were kind of a mix like this. So I think is what happens is you can kind of feel it on here. If you hold these valves up, where these keepers go, they get just a little bit of a burr. Now, how I figured out how to remove these may not be the right way, may not be the best way, may be the right way, I don't know. But it's how I'm gonna do it. So what I have is a piece of 1000 grit, wet or dry. So all I'm gonna do, and all I wanna hit, is just the areas by the keepers. I don't wanna go down anywhere where the valve actually rides into the valve guide, but I'm just going up here where the keepers are and just working around, okay? And then I'll spin the valve and I'll just work around. All I'm trying to do is basically deburr it so that way it'll slide through the guide. See? I didn't push it or nothing, it just slid right through. And the only area I hit on here was just right up here by these keepers, because like I said, most of the burrs you find are on these little tangs where the keepers go. One thing that also might be a problem, these valves don't look like it too bad, but if the head of your valve is mushroomed out, then you need to definitely look at getting some new valves. But that's not this episode, okay? Right now, all we're doing is disassembling, and then I'll go over some key spots on the heads that you want to look for. And this is just going to be for a quick reference before I get into cleaning them up, because then if you already see some big spots on there, why clean them up? Because you know you need to get a new head. But one thing on these, remember how I marked the other one 1 and 2, 3 and 4, just so I had a reference? Again, so up over here, E1, your exhaust, I1, intake, I2, E2, okay? This was exhaust 3, so all I'm doing is poking a hole with a pen, pushing the valve down in, just for now, and then marking it where it went, exhaust number 3. Okay, again, in a later episode when I'm going over cleaning up these valves, and after the head's all cleaned up and inspected, and doing some valve lapping, that's kind of why I'm doing this, because these valves, as long as they're good, are going back into each head, and they've already worn together the contact surfaces, so you don't want to throw a different valve in a different spot, because then you're either not going to get a good seal, or it's going to take a lot more to lap them together and get a good seal. Alright folks, now that you've seen how to do this, let me bring you back after I get these other two out of here and mark them in their spots where they go, and then we'll kind of cover some of the main areas that I've read about on these heads, just to double check. And then probably in the next video we'll get into doing a homemade parts washer area and cleaning these up. And then once they're cleaned up, we'll probably clean up valves and do some valve lapping. Alright, be right back with you. Alright folks, I know my lighting isn't that great right now, but some of the areas you want to check before you really start digging into these and cleaning up. Check right around here where your spark plug goes, make sure that's not cracked. Make sure you don't have any cracking in between your exhaust and intake valve on either cylinder. You want to check so it's not a head gasket in the sense that it is a like on a small block Chevy or something like that. but check your sealing surface where your jug goes up in, because these are your 4 bolt holes on this cylinder and 4 over here that tighten the jug down onto here. So check those areas. Let's see, check up around your rocker arm shafts, back on the bottom side. Make sure you don't have any of your valve seats coming out weird, sitting in there crooked, any of that, because those mean you need new valve seats. Check over here on your intake port side, make sure it's not cracked in between or around your studs. Same thing on your exhaust ports, make sure it isn't cracked. Any of those big things, you know, majorly broken off fins. From everything I see and read, again, the problem areas are in between the valves, around your spark plug hole, and like major pitting and things around here, which I don't see any of that on these heads. I've checked them both, so I guess that's that. I did have one that took quite a bit of work. Yeah, it was that intake on number 3. I had to drop down, instead of using 1000 grit just on that end, I had to drop down to 400, and I sat and polished the head of that valve. Just around the edge there was just a little bit, you could catch it with your finger just barely, but it didn't want to drop through. I didn't push any of these through, they just dropped through on the own weight of their valves, so that way, you know, they're not dragging and ripping up any of your valve guides. But I hit it just on the end with some 600 until it dropped through, and then, or excuse me, some 400, and then once I got it out, I hit that area with a 600 for a little bit, and then finished it back off with 1000. So there it is. That's why that one looks a little cleaner. Yeah, it was just that end. It didn't look like it was mushroomed out any from the rocker arms. I don't know what happened, but yeah. Other than that, yeah. All right, hang on, guys. I will be right back with you. All right, folks, that's it for tonight's video. I just wanted to get these heads disassembled again. Like I said, I ordered new springs and new retainers and new keepers. I would like to reuse them. I just don't know on those, and springs are a wear point, and you don't want to be driving along and drop a valve or something like that. So I figured they were cheap enough. I think I got springs, retainers, and the keepers all for like 50, 60 bucks. I mean, I'm used to buying small block Chevy parts or things like that, or I guess Cadillac parts for the Firebird motor, and it's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So I figured for 50 bucks it was a peace of mind. The shipping was almost more than that, coming all the way from the West Coast. But some other things to note on working on your heads is a good thing to note how your rocker studs are, how your intake studs, your exhaust studs. So on that cylinder head back there, I have all 4 of my exhaust studs, but one's pretty chewed up, and I'm missing one on here. So I'm gonna have to, the next parts order I make, I'll have to add in a couple of studs. The rest of them all look pretty good, like they'll clean up. Yeah, other than that, on my next video we'll either be working on the car, ripping that down some more, pulling the interior out of there, or see if I can go get a plastic tote and get some parts washing solution and clean these. I don't want to just sit there and, I mean, it would work if that's all you had, spray brake clean and scrub, but I think I'm going to get a brush and some parts washing solvent and pour it in there, because I got lots of other stuff to do as well. and just scrub, and then dry them off. Get all the dirt dauber nests out of these lovely air-cooled engines. Yeah, that's interesting to me. Dirt daubers building nests up in there. But yeah, you want to get all of these fins and everything all cleaned out, clean everything up, and then we'll go through this with a nice fine-tooth comb, get you in close with the camera, see what I'm seeing, and we'll double check, make sure we don't see any hairline cracks. Again, your best thing you could do is take it to a machine shop. If you're worried about it, go get it magnafluxed. It'll show any cracks, anything like that. I'm trying to do this on a budget, so I'm just kind of hoping the heads are going to be good after we check them. I don't have a magnafluxer here, so yeah. And then we'll get to cleaning the valves and doing some valve lapping once I get my springs and guides, so then we can slap the heads back together and coat them with a little bit of oil and throw them in a plastic bag so they'll sit and be good while we work on other stuff. Yeah, if you didn't notice, humidity around here, or at least where I'm at, is terrible. You leave any raw metal out and it's rusty almost immediately. So, but enough rambling on for me. Again, that's it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down in the comment boxes down below. If you want to see my little parts haul video, I guess it'll either be over here somewhere or over here. But yeah, that's it. We'll catch you on the next one. Thank you.